Finding a woke piece of software is an incredibly easy thing to do. Throw a rock, you hit a piece of woke software. Install a piece of software. You probably just installed a piece of woke software. But what if you want to find an alternative? What if you want to find some software that is distinctly non-woke? You may have heard me ranting and raving like a lunatic about the evils of woke software over the last year or two, and you may have thought to yourself, great, that sounds horrible. I definitely don't want that woke software, but what are my other options? Well, I'm going to go through a couple of options, a couple of Lunduke approved non-woke options for some of the most important pieces of software that people use on a regular basis. And some of you are out there right now asking, Lunduke, what in the heck of tarnation is woke software? Software doesn't necessarily even have politics. What the heck are you talking about? Software ain't woke or non-woke. Here's how I define that. And my definition is absolute. So we're just going to go with that. Woke software is a noun and means thus: any computer software of which the owners or developers of said software hate you for being a normal person. Usually, it's accompanied by some form of discrimination against you for being too gosh darn normal, right? Are you a straight dude married with 2.3 children, a dog, and a picket fence? Odds are there's woke software out there that really hates you for being you and does not want you to use their software and will often forbid you from even becoming involved in their open source projects or companies. And obviously, some people don't want that. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't mind. I don't care what people think of me. I don't care if the people who make software hate me, discriminate against me, forbid me from being in their project, and go on regular public rants about how I should die and have my car firebombed. If you don't mind that, this list is not for you. But if you're a little bit fed up with all that stuff, here's a couple of non-woke options. I published this over the weekend. I'm trying to keep these updated every so often. I did one of these lists with slightly different variations about 4 or 5 months ago or so. I need to do them a little more regularly to keep up to date because the landscape is ever changing. And I want to go through the high levels. First, web browsers. The reality is there's a lot of woke web browsers on there. Firefox, oh my gosh. Mozilla as a corporation is crazy woke. And we're not going to go through all the details about why all these companies, organizations, and whatnot are super woke and absolutely hate you for being non-woke. We're just going to talk about the alternatives. So if you don't want to be using Firefox, if you don't want to be using, let's say, Google Chrome because you don't like how woke Google is, I recommend Brave. Now, Brave, many of you may have qualms with Brave. Brave isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea, but it's got a lot going for it. It is incredibly fast. It blocks ads like a crazy person. It's one of the best privacy-respecting browsers out there. And most of all, it doesn't hate you. The people behind Brave don't hate you at all. In fact, the CEO of Brave was actually kicked out of Mozilla because he wasn't woke enough. So as far as non-woke web browsers go, Brave is the top dog, the big cheese, the big kahuna. There's some other browsers coming along. The Ladybird browser shows a lot of non-woke promise, but it's not quite ready for daily usage yet. So right now, I recommend Brave, and I recommend it heartily. I use Brave for not quite 100% of my browsing because I test things in a variety of browsers, but pretty close to it. It's what I use on my mobile devices. It's what I use on my laptops. I use Brave. Now let's follow that up with operating systems. This one is tricky as all get out. I used to have on an old version of this list Apple and Mac OS and iOS on the list of non-woke systems. I can't in good conscience include anything from Apple in a non-woke list at this point. Apple recently basically went to war against their own shareholders to demand that they continue to enforce weird woke DEI policies. It was crazy. Super woke. They really want to be racist. They really want to be sexist. Okay, more power to them. But I can't include them in a non-woke software list at this point. There are multiple Linux and BSD versions that you could argue could be on this list. And realistically, this list may grow over time. But there are two, count them, two Linux distributions that I can wholeheartedly recommend as non-woke right now. Again, there likely will be a couple of additional additions to this list in coming months. But right now, I can give two Lunduke non-woke stamp of approvals. And those Linux distributions are Open Mandriva and Devuan. Fantastic systems, both of them technically excellent. Very different systems with very different technical goals. Devuan is a Debian fork that doesn't use systemd and some other stuff, and Open Mandriva is a descended from the lineage of Mandrake. Great systems. Both are decidedly non-woke, so much so that the Open Mandriva folks, man, they implored upon me many months back, this was back in the beginning of January, of just how non-woke they are. And the Devuan people, maybe they didn't go that far, but they've made public declarations that they are not political. They're just not getting political at all. And they've held to that. And that's beautiful. Because here's the thing. I don't need a software project to agree with my politics. I just don't want it to be woke. Right? I don't care if all of the people behind, let's say, Open Mandriva are 100% extreme leftist in their politics. I don't care if they personally vote for everyone I would never vote for. As long as they don't impose those politics on the project itself by telling people how they hate conservatives, and they're evil, and talking about how they don't want anyone who's right of center involved in their project, and they start banning people for their political, as long as they don't do any of that stuff, they're not on my woke list. Now, it just so happens that Open Mandriva is decidedly almost anti-woke, and Devuan is just non-woke, and I can wholeheartedly recommend both of those. I actually am running both of those Linux distributions right now. Open Mandriva is my daily driver, and I also am dual booting with Devuan just to play around with it, but it's a good system. Here's a screen thing for Devuan. You can go check it out at devuan.org. It's an excellent system, and same with Open Mandriva, openmandriva.org. And you can get it Brave at brave.com. Email clients. Now, a lot of you use webmail, so this is no big deal, but a lot of you use things like Thunderbird. Now, Thunderbird is under Mozilla, and I'm going to be honest with you, I really like Thunderbird. As far as an email client goes, Thunderbird's it's one I actually like. But I won't use something that's underneath the Mozilla umbrella at this time because Mozilla is just super duper woke. The Mozilla Foundation, the Mozilla Corporation, man, they make it very clear. They do not like me or you or anyone that smells kind of conservative-y. So I won't use anything that comes from Mozilla right now. If they want to change their stripes, we can talk about this. But right now, I've got to find an alternative, right? Well, that alternative is really easy. Betterbird. This is a project that has stayed decidedly non-political. Great. That means it's not woke. Right? As long as it's not woke, we're good. I have no idea what the politics of the developers are at all. Not a clue. Not a clue. Don't want to know. Right? If they want to tell me, that's fine. But I almost just don't want to know because that, to me, that's better. Right? So betterbird.eu. It is a fork of Mozilla Thunderbird that's off to the side. Right? It's a total fork. They've applied a whole bunch of changes. It almost looks like older Thunderbird without any Mozilla branding and stuff on it. So it makes you get to feel good about it. And then there's some development tools. And the two development tools that I've decided to list here today for this list, the first one is Redo or Redot. I don't know. It's a fork of Godot. You may remember last year the Godot video game development engine. They went crazy woke. They went psycho woke. They started conducting a cleansing of anyone that sniffed a little conservative. It was crazy. They started mass banning people for merely suggesting that maybe a piece of software didn't need to be political. So they just mass ban people. They're like, no, you have to be hardcore, extreme leftist, hardcore woke, DEI thumping, and you have to have just hate in your heart against anyone who doesn't look like you or whatnot in order to be part of the Godot project, apparently. That's what they started mass banning people for it. So there was a response to that. And the Redot engine, REDOT engine.org, is a fork, a nice hard fork of Godot, and is fantastic. It's run by people that just don't be woke. That's what they do. Nice game engine, super not woke, beautiful. And the other thing I want to mention here, and this is something that most end users aren't even going to care about, but is just so gosh darn lovable that I have to bring it up. And it's SQLite. SQLite is a single user SQL database file format and an accompanying library. In fact, it's probably the most used database and file format on planet Earth outside of like text files. It's everywhere. SQLite is in embedded systems and TV set-top boxes and powers game systems. It's everywhere. And the beautiful thing about SQLite is their code of ethics. And if you've never seen this, you owe it to yourself to check it out. Go to SQLite, sqlite.org/codeofethics.html. Beautiful website because it uses just .html files like the good Lord intended. And start looking through it. Their code of ethics is like their version of a code of conduct, except it includes, how many total things is it here? 72 different things that you're supposed to agree to, right? 72 different rules. And they start out like this. Number 1, first of all, love the Lord God with your whole heart, your whole soul, and your whole strength. Then love your neighbor as yourself. Do not murder. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Do not covet. Do not bear false witness. Honor all people. Do not do to another what you would not have done to yourself. Deny oneself in order to follow Christ. Chastise the body. Do not become attached to pleasures. Love fasting. Relieve the poor. Clothe the naked. Visit the sick. Bury the dead. On and on and on. Now here's the thing. Are these going to apply? Do not be drowsy. Be not a great eater, be not drowsy, be not lazy, be not a grumbler, be not a detractor. Fear the day of judgment, be in dread of hell. Know for certain that God sees you everywhere. Do not love much or boisterous laughter. I mean, it's on and on and on. Now, I'm not going to require people to follow all these, right? I'm just not. But I absolutely love this list. I love this list. I love it. I love that they put this out there almost as a response to the ludicrousness of the codes of conduct that are out there. And I just want to high five the SQLite folks for doing it. It is the most decidedly non-woke code of conduct thing that's out there. And now SQLite, the development of it is a real closed thing, right? They these developers develop it. There's a handful of them, and they're not seeking patches. They don't open this up to as a big community project. And as far as I know, there's never been people booted from the project because they could not follow Rule 37, be not drowsy. I just don't think that's happened. Anyway, I think it's truly fantastic. So a hearty mention to SQLite. Now you'll notice this list is small, and there's a couple reasons for that. The first is that I wanted to focus on web browsers and operating systems because that's the bulk of what people need. People need a good operating system and people need a good web browser. Once you've got that solved, for 9 out of 10 people using their computer, they're in good shape, right? It's why so many people are able to do the majority of their computing on a Chromebook or an iPad, is because once they've got a machine where the OS is reasonable and they've got a good web browser, they're good to go. And so I wanted to make sure that we really have that covered. Without those pieces, we're in deep doggy doo-doo. And the reason that it's so short, though, beyond just laser focusing on just those things above and beyond everything else, is that there's not a lot of truly verifiably publicly non-woke software, right? There's a lot of software developed by teams who are proudly very woke, right? Proudly proclaiming that they're, racist and sexist about the DEI stuff and they really want to discriminate against people, proudly proclaiming their hatred of anyone who would dare vote for a centrist or right-leaning candidate, proudly proclaiming there are projects out there that have proclaimed that they're for the vandalizing of Tesla vehicles. Like it's just strange stuff. So finding woke software, easy. There's so much of it. But finding software where the projects are publicly verifiably non-woke is a little more challenging, because the reality is most people who are non-woke just want to make great software, right? So most of the people who are out there in the software industry, the developers, the testers, whatnot, the designers, and if they happen to be non-woke, or right of center, etc., they're usually focused on the software and they don't need to bring up their politics all the time. Or if they do, they bring it up somewhere else, far away from their project. And so verifying the non-wokeness of an open source project or a corporate project even is incredibly difficult. And many people still fear being publicly out and non-woke because they're afraid that the woke people are going to attack them, and they usually do. The non-woke crowd usually attacks, or the woke crowd usually attacks the non-woke people. I mean, that's a standard thing. I mean, you can see it all the time with the declarations of, let's go firebomb Teslas that various projects do, and the declarations of violence from some Linux distributions against anyone who's conservative. I mean, it's a regular thing. So you see it, and so I think a lot of people who are non-woke just don't mention it. They just try and fly under the radar and make their own software that's it, right? That's non-political. So the list stays fairly short. I'll add to it as we go. And I want to say this before we head off into the sunset here. There are a number of obvious examples so far where projects have come out as non-woke, such as, for example, Open Mandriva. And the results were fabulous. Huge influx of users, huge influx of contributors, productive contributors, positive contributors, happy contributors that don't attack people and swear all the time. And you see spikes in downloads, you see spikes in search engine rankings and trends over on the various search engines. You see huge spikes. I mean, Open Mandriva went on the search rankings, just went, or search trends at Google. It just went from naught to 100, and instantly, once people realized how non-woke it was. And it's not the only one where this has happened. So people are really looking for alternatives. People are out there right now wanting to be on lists like this, talked about as projects that don't care what your politics are, right? If you're non-woke, it means you don't care what a person's politics are. It means you don't care what their personal life is. Keep it to yourself. Talk about it elsewhere, and let's focus on the software, right? That's what being non-woke is about. That's what being non-woke in the software world is like. It's just a beautiful place like it used to be, where people can collaborate, where people can build things together and promote things together and share their common nerdery. Whereas on the woke side of things, they're focusing on hate, especially if you're a normal person. If you're normal, man, if you're a middle-aged religious white guy with kids, oh my heavens, they hate you so much. And it's just ugh. It's just ugh. So if you're running a project, open source, if you're running a software company, if you're a games developer, etc., and you're not woke, and you want other not woke people to know how your software does not discriminate against them, let me know. Reach out to me. Head on over to lunduke.com. On that page, there's all sorts of stuff, ways to get a hold of me. You can get a hold of me on almost every platform. Get a hold of me on X. You can email me, brian@lunduke.com. You can get a hold of me on Locals. There's a forum. There's a Telnet accessible BBS. There's all sorts of ways you can get a hold of me. Get a hold of me, let me know, I'll look into it, and if I can verify that your stuff is non-woke, I'll add it to the next round of the list, because it's a valuable resource, I think, for all of us to know what software doesn't hate us. Because, again, maybe you don't care. Maybe you don't care. I do. I can feel it. When I'm using a piece of a computer, and the operating system is made by people who I know specifically have asked that I not use their software because I'm the wrong political party or I'm the wrong religion. And if I'm using a web browser that's stated they want to do more than deplatform me, and that they really, really want to fight against my own political beliefs, and they think I'm almost subhuman, you know what? I don't like it. It doesn't feel great. I would rather use software by people who are either completely just non-political, and they don't even get their politics involved in it. That's the best. Or if they are political, I'd like to know that they like me. It feels good. So if you want to be a part of that list, lunduke.com, find a way to contact me, get a hold of me, and I will add it to my list to evaluate for the next month's software update list. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the inner tubes, I do declare, end broadcast.